No way.
That's insane.
No sugar. Wow.
Taking over the world.
No sugar.
Now, when I was 14, I used to work at a local convenience store. This store was located on the corner, a block away from my old high school. And this store pretty much sells everything that you can think of: newspaper, grocery, coffee, lottery tickets, tobacco, porno magazines, snack, hot food, whipped cream canisters to be used in dispensers to make whipped cream, of course. Small Ziploc plastic bags in 10s, 20s, 50s, or 100s. Of course, these are used to store coins and buttons for soon close. And how could a store be complete without lighters? We have all of the fanciest lighters that you can think of, with laser, and yeah, they were very cool. It was a small business, and as you know, it's a franchise owned by an immigrant family, by my own people, Vietnamese. It is a smaller version of a standard IGA store here in Australia, and it's called the IGA Express. The idea of this store is that people can go in and out quickly to grab what they need. We call these stores delis in Australia. As a worker there, I got treated like one of the owner's children. And I think a lot of my neuroses stems from this need to please them when I was a child. They definitely played a part in how I grew up to be an adult that I am today. I was definitely underpaid like most other teenagers, but in return I was part of their family. I can eat whatever I want in the store. They would sometimes treat me by taking us, both of the owners, their kids, and a few other workers, who by the way were Afghani boys my age, to restaurants for New Year, for special events, Australia Day, etc. They would drive me home when it was late, giving me gifts. It was reciprocal. The relationship benefited both parties. And that's how we Vietnamese do businesses. But there were definitely things that I didn't know about that businesses aren't meant to do. I'm not going to rat them out on these videos because I ain't a snitch and they are good people underneath all of that. What do I know? I was naive back then and I just needed to save up for a new electric guitar. So I got stuck there for a long time, 4 years to be exact. I couldn't leave due to guilt. That's right, guilt. Thinking back, there were many instances in which I got quite humiliated by my bosses, but somehow I wanted to stay and I wanted to carry out my duty like a loyal worker that I was. It was an awkward period of my life. As high school student, I got crippling low self-esteem. I was overweight. I got a lot of acne. I stayed up every single night, either stressing about schoolwork. In hindsight, these things probably contributed absolutely nothing on my life trajectory. If I were indeed to slack off a little bit and not get a good mark, I would still be where I am today, I think. I also had raging hormones and a need that was unmet. So I turned to porn and I got addicted to porn as well. I also had very poor social skills. And because of all of this, I was a mess of a human being. And I longed for an escape from my painful existence. I had no girlfriend as a teenager and I felt ashamed of the friends I was able to make. Back then I had just learned to be self-conscious and I came to a conclusion, and that is I can't have an identity. And that other people I hang out with can give me an identity. I associated being cool with being friends with all of the popular kids, and I was none of those things. None of my friends were considered cool. We are all geeks and nerds. So I longed for this escape. There was also lots of uncertainty in my life back then. I was an immigrant. My stay in Australia could end at any time. I might have to go home and serve in the military. So I got really paranoid. My parents told me that I need to get a good grade and go to uni or get a good job. Otherwise, I would have to go home and serve in the army, as you all know. And I couldn't be a rock star. That's what I really wanted back then. Guitar was my escape. I used to play guitar for hours on end, just listening to the greatest guitar heroes of the 80s. Jason Becker, Marty Friedman, Yngwie Malmsteen, all of those guys. I tried to copy them. But I couldn't be a rock star. I knew I couldn't be a rock star. I could not pursue music due to the stresses and expectations from my parents and close family members, and from my friends as well. They all scoffed at the idea, even though I was a semi-good guitarist back then. I had to force myself to be an academic. Work was also a stressor for me because money was low. My dad stayed with me as I was a teenager because I was underage. He was there until I was 18. But he was working all the time to pay for my tuition. So that means he was not home most of the time. So when no one was at home, I would watch porn to escape reality. But there's one thing that I was very afraid of, and that was I was very afraid of the law, being an immigrant. I really want to escape this reality, and I really, really wanted to try weed, like a lot of my friends back then. But I was afraid of getting caught. So I did some research. I tried to look up ways in which I can get high legally. Because I've built up a certain level of trust over the years working for these people at the convenience store. I was able to get away with stealing. I've stolen a lot of things. Too many that I would be comfortable admitting on camera. I've stolen porno magazines, cigarettes, food, drinks, even though technically my bosses say I can eat whatever I wanted. But yeah, I stole cigarettes, and when no one was at home, none of my family members were at home, I would try smoking. I would stay up late, go out the balcony and try to smoke. And the first time I smoked a cigarette, it tasted like shit. I also tried to drink some vodka. I also tried to, I didn't steal alcohol. I just found alcohol laying around, either at work or at home, and I would try drinking. And I couldn't understand why people got into drinking or smoking. They all taste like crap. I couldn't understand why people like junk food, like soft drinks. I could understand why they like that stuff because it's sweet. It tastes nice. But cigarettes, alcohol, could not understand why people take them. So one day I was researching and I found that apparently you can get high from nutmeg. I don't know what website I got this from, but apparently I read back then that nutmeg can get you high. It has some hallucinogenic properties when taken in right amounts, and it is completely legal. I was not expecting it. One day when I was stacking shelves, I saw that my bosses have ordered a ton of nutmeg containers, and so I quickly stashed one in my pocket. When I got home, I immediately took out a tablespoon from my drawer and shoved 1 heaped tablespoon of nutmeg powder into my mouth. I choked and I nearly vomited. My eyes started watering, and that sort of put an end to me trying to get high. But as you know, in my adult years, I went through 2 suicide attempts. Now, I still don't understand fully why I did it. It was a very irrational thing. Maybe it was an escape. I was trying to escape the reality. But to be honest, my suicide attempts only reinforced my love for life and how I just want to be here, you know? I just want to soak everything in. Sure, my life can suck sometimes, and I do want an escape. I do not want to suffer forever. But mind-altering substances is not a permanent solution. You sort of escape for a while only. I think that I would rather be present and not diminish any of my experiences. They obviously mean something to me. The reason why I felt pain, the reason why I felt heartbreak, it was because I needed to get out of that place. I needed to escape, but not by running away from my problems. I needed to do something. I needed to be here to change that. I used to be very angry towards people who take drugs. I used to judge them. I used to think that they are no good for society. They're just leeches, and they stole taxpayers' money for all of these services. I used to think that way without really understanding. And when I served these people, when I was working at that convenience store, sometimes I would get so triggered when these drunks and these high people came in asking to buy these small plastic bags. I know they are a dealer. I know they were dealing drugs. But yeah, now with this new perspective on life and all of these experiences that I've gained over the year, I realize they were literally me. They were literally me at one point. They were trying to escape this life that they so hate. But they don't know how. And this is the only way for their mind to wander off to another planet, for them to meet God, for them to run away from reality. Even if it's just a little bit, that's enough to ease the pain that is in their hearts. So I do have a lot of compassion for them, and I do see myself in them. Will I ever try hard drugs like cocaine, OxyContin, and fentanyl? Hopefully not. I want to feel all the pain, and I want to be here, man. As always, stay strong. God bless. I love you all. Don't do drugs. Drugs are bad, okay?